IHH or the IHH had provided us platform, satellite platform, in order for us to do live telecast directly from the ship. And then what we have to do is that the next mission, I guess, from my opinion, what we have to do is we have to prepare with not just one platform of satellite, meaning we must have more than 2 or 3 satellites synchronously at the same time, by the time we can do live crossover. So we have this plan A, plan B, and plan C. Because all these Israeli ships, by the time their battleships just near the ship, and they cease the operation of the military operation, starts moving onto this storm, onto Marmara. They just block every kind of platform, satellites, so we can't use our satellite phone and stuff. But at the same time, what we have to do is just, we must have another like satellite dish or something put on top of the ship. We have live telecast, so that's what IHH was doing at that time. So it was perfectly done. So all international community will realize what is going on with the mission, and they will follow the development every day.
Has Astro Awani or yourself been in touch with some of your contemporaries or your colleagues in
Turkey,
media in Turkey and the rest of the past?
Yes.
Is there something going on there?
Yes, now is that they are preparing for the next mission, of course. So what we have to do here in Malaysia is just that the integration between our media, especially, and are we prepared? We, Astro Awani itself, we are preparing to have our own, live telecast facilities, and I hope that we can get it soon, so that we can go for this mission. Not just for this mission. This is not one-time struggle. This is ongoing process. That's so we have to be there. It's not just flotilla or break the Gaza siege, but to bring the truth itself.
Thank you. Well, we have one more round of questions before we end this very interesting session. This question that I'd like to pose to Professor Chossudovsky about the seemingly the split between Fatah and Hamas. It's something that's been bugging a lot of people, actually. I mean, we know that, of course, atrocities committed by Israel in Palestine, but at the same time we see that the two factions are not really coming together, and this is a very big disappointment for the rest of us. Well, what have you to say about that?
No, I think that question should not be addressed to me because it's something which is very complex, and I think there are people more knowledgeable than me who can address it. I'm more focusing on the geopolitics. Of course, everything is connected. But of course, Fatah now is a puppet regime of the United States and Israel, and it doesn't represent the Palestinian people. And they're using Fatah essentially to pursue their objectives. But I'd rather not elaborate because I haven't done the research on all the details. But one thing which is very important, Yasser Arafat was assassinated. He was assassinated by on the orders of the Israeli cabinet. Okay, that's very important, and it was part of the Operation Justified Vengeance. It was a whole sequence. The Jewish colonies in Gaza were removed on the orders of Ariel Sharon. That was not in support of the sovereignty of the Palestinian people. It was there to essentially to implement the project of creating an urban prison, because you can't have Jewish settlements inside the prison and effectively establish a blockade. So there were a whole series of events leading up to the demise the Palestinian project, and the break of the political break between the West Bank and Gaza, which have to be examined. But maybe somebody else can address the more intricate elements of the relationship between Fatah and Hamas.
Can you, I just heard you state quite categorically there that Yasser Arafat was assassinated, so he did not die a natural death.
No, I mean, the thing is, when Arafat was passed away, he was poisoned. When we had the medical reports and so on, but the media the media again obfuscated the causes of his death, and they did not identify the fact that an order to kill him had been adopted by the Israeli cabinet. Okay? It was a governmental decision. It was a political assassination. And so we were led to believe, because it happened 1 year later, the Israeli cabinet said, yes, we are going to go and kill Arafat. Okay? We have the reports on that. And then 1 year later, he's dead. And then the autopsy reports suggest that he was poisoned. But then the media have a complete cover-up of this. So, and I say that was part of Operation Justified Vengeance, of which the main architect was Meir Dagan, who now, he was National Security Advisor to Ariel Sharon in the year 2000, prior to his election, and he is now the head of Israeli intelligence, the Mossad, which has a very close relationship with the United States. Those are very important occurrences. There's a whole chronology. In some of our papers and my own research, we try to establish the chronology from Ariel Sharon to Netanyahu. There's a continuity, and I don't think that any kind of change in the leadership will really modify, I mean, that project, because it's really set by people in the intelligence apparatus and the military rather than in civilian politics.
Well, as you well know, PGPO is a peace organization, and we're working towards criminalizing war. But there is a question here that perhaps you, Professor, and perhaps Dennis also would like to take a stab at, which is it a possibility to have an OIC standing army? I assume that the reason this question is asked is for the OIC to have an army or military presence together to counter the transgressions of Israel. Do you have any comments about that at all? No. Dennis?
One of the difficulties of peacekeeping for the United Nations, as established by the Assembly and I believe the Security Council, is that the governments concerned have got to provide their agreement. So, for example, the thought of putting in UN troops, UN peacekeepers, I should say, to keep Palestine and the Israelis apart while some resolution of their differences is sought, only works if Israel agrees to having UN troops on its border for that purpose. Well, you can probably guess what the Israeli response was to those suggestions made many times. Of course, they will not allow UN troops on Israeli soil. In fact, their relations with the United Nations is extremely poor. And yet we have good people like John Ging in UNRWA in Gaza doing, I think, incredibly good work, feeding several million people every day through the UN relief agency. But the fact is, Israel, which was established by the United Nations, unfortunately, has now, of course, very poor relations with the United Nations and the member states, most member states of the United Nations.
Thank you. In fact, without me asking, you already answered a question from Zubaida from